On these videos, we talk about the greatest lie of our generation, the myth, the hoax of black victimization, and how so many reporters and public officials are in denial, deceit, and delusion about it. Okay, so every once in a while, maybe once a day now, I'll get a letter from somebody that'll say, "No, Colin, that's not the biggest lie of our generation. This is." So, you can pick out your favorite fib, whether it's global warming or vaccinations or this or that, or everybody's got one. But the reason we call this story of black victimization and white racism the biggest lie of our generation is because we're not just talking about the difference between the lie and the truth, the fantasy and the reality, which is enormous, but we're also talking about how often we are confronted with it, how many times a day we are confronted with it, and what the stakes are as we are confronted with it. And if you have when we talk about this biggest lie, we also like to remind people that this biggest lie is supported by lots of little lies. And if you believed everything you read about your latest academic conference about how black people are relentless victims of relentless white racism all the time, everywhere, that explains everything, then you would know that, well, it's not just black people, it's people of color. So, we're all together in this thing. Well, that of course is another lie that is not true anywhere, even inside these so-called conferences where people try to make it up. We just did a video on a documentary that the network or channel Vice did. It was about 10 black women that went to Costa Rica for a retreat. And it was all about black women escaping from white people. How much they didn't like white people. White people are always messing with them, telling them their hair is nice, telling them they talk nice. That sounds like a compliment to you, but to them it was a microaggression somewhere on the level of killing lots of people at Auschwitz. But I will tell you that, when you go down to this retreat in Costa Rica, I promise you there are no other people of color there. It's just black people. There are no Hispanics. There are no Asians. There are no Eskimos. I don't know. There are no American Indians. There are no Indians from India. It's just black people. So this whole people of color thing is one big fiction because there's an enormous amount of conflict between black people and Hispanic people and lots of other ethnic groups as well. Let me say, hold it. I said there's conflict. That kind of means that, that's kind of a neutral term, isn't it? There's a lot of conflict there. No, there's a lot of violence directed black at Hispanic. Boy, isn't it amazing how easy it is to slip into this value-free language where everybody's just equal and nobody is really to blame for anything. Nobody takes responsibility for anything. It all just happens kind of spontaneously. Well, there's two stories here. We just got in just like less than an hour ago. Two stories here about black on Hispanic crime and violence that nobody who knows anything about this will say is unusual. We did a lot of stories on this and don't make the black kids angry. Black on Hispanic, especially black on Hispanic immigrant violence. Let's take a look at two recent ones. Black on Hispanic, and nobody's talking about people of color holding hands, making plans, and singing Kumbaya with the fellas and their lovely ladies.
These slashes are now all over Tomas Jaimez's body after working a long restaurant shift Monday. The 37-year-old says he was walking down the street around 2 a.m. on Broome and Suffolk streets when a man came up to him out of nowhere, yelling racial slurs and threatening the worst.
Say, I want to kill you. When say that, punch my chest. And I fall.
The husband and father of two little girls says the suspect, seen here in this police sketch, punched him down to the ground, then whipped out a knife and demanded money.
He have a knife. He started to scratch my face and say, no have a wallet, no have a money.
Jaimez explained he didn't have much on him, but the attacker didn't give up. He stole Jaimez's phone before running off and shouting more hate-fueled words. Sources confirm he said, quote, "Get out of my country." Jaime says no one was around to help, but he was able to walk to a nearby pharmacy to call 911. The suspect is described as black, 6'1", 190 pounds, and 40 to 45 years old. Last seen wearing a black parka with a fur-lined hood. Jaimez is now living in fear, barely able to sleep at night.
Now I'm scared.
Story people sent to me from South Florida. A couple different people did. And the only reason I know anything about Miami Gardens is because I saw the ESPN 30 by 30, 3430 story about who lives in Miami Gardens. And that's how the University of Miami became a big football powerhouse. They went into the ghetto and recruited all the people who live in the ghetto because white coaches would not go into the ghetto. They went into Miami Gardens. So the story you're going to read is about a high school that's 90% black and 10% Hispanic. We're going to hear about a girl that was subjected to the worst kind of physical and sexual abuse by black people in a bathroom. And all I could say is, man, I wish somebody had shown this girl or her mom what happens to Hispanic kids, to white kids, to all kinds of kids who go to black schools. It's child abuse.
And first on 7.
And he grabbed me by my sweater and he wouldn't let me go.
A girl living a nightmare at school.
And I really hope this doesn't happen to any other girl.
She says 3 boys left her scared and shaken.
The teen claims she was put through horror at school, and it may not be over yet.
7 investigates. The team's Brian Enton is live in Miami Gardens with the story. Brian.
Craig, what happened to this girl is just unimaginable. She says she was raped by 3 different boys inside the school. And then days later, her family gets a knock on their front door, and what they are told makes this story so much worse. A mom trying to comfort her 14-year-old daughter after the 9th grader says she was forced to have sex with 3 different boys in a Carroll City Senior High School bathroom.
I was going to leave and he grabbed me by my sweater and he held tight, and so I was going to try to pull and leave and he wouldn't let me go.
The girl says the first boy forced her to have anal sex, and then word spread about what happened. That's when she says other 9th graders started approaching her.
The 3rd time it was after school, and I was supposed to stay after school for math tutoring, and there was a guy asking me if I could go to the restroom with him. The 14-year-old says the other boys forced her to perform oral sex, and she told a teacher about what happened back in October. In this student's statement, she wrote, "He grabbed me tightly by my hand and he got me into the boys' bathroom. I couldn't breathe. I choking and crying." The school district decided to suspend the boys and the girl from school. I felt like they would really just take the guy's side and they would just believe them and, leave me out and say that, it was all my fault.
But the situation got even worse when the girl's mother got unimaginable news.
And Thursday is when the investigators show up to my house at 7 o'clock in the night to let me know that one of the kids was HIV positive and another one has gonorrhea.
The mom says she won't know for sure if her daughter has HIV for another year, but doctors have already started her on medicine.
She's only 14 years. How you explain you're 14 years old? She's gonna have something that it can get cured for it.
The school district says school district administrators in conjunction with Miami-Dade Schools Police are thoroughly investigating. Information regarding the case has been provided to the state attorney's office as well as the Department of Children and Families.
I'm getting therapy and, I can't sleep at night sometimes. And I really hope this doesn't happen to any other girl. This shouldn't happen to any other girl or boy.
You can imagine that 14-year-old says that she is just too traumatized to come back to this school. Meanwhile, the school district emphasizes that this is an ongoing investigation and ultimately it will be up to the state attorney to decide whether or not to press charges. So maybe the mom believed that little fairy tale she was hearing from the teachers and the college professors and their newspaper reporters and the columnists. The people of color all are uniting at Miami Gardens High School, and we're all just getting along really well. And so one question this reporter doesn't answer and other reporters don't answer is, what is that school like day in and day out?
Do they ever have any other problems there? Of course they do. It's if it's an average black school, they have ridiculous levels of crime and violence, high levels of crime and violence, and ridiculously low levels of academic achievement. And for a parent, no matter what language they speak, no matter how long they've been in this country, for a parent not to know that, for a parent to ignore that, for a parent to put your trust in strangers who are going to protect your child in this incredibly difficult and dangerous environment, that's child abuse. I'm sorry, it's plain child abuse. Well, as long as we're down at Fort Lauderdale, as long as we're down in South Florida, we might as well throw this one in there, even though this isn't black on Hispanic. Just some of the fellas living the life.
New details tonight on a deadly shooting in Fort Lauderdale. A clue on camera. The killers captured on surveillance video. Their faces crystal clear.
Yeah, detectives are hoping that clue helps in their search for the shooters. 7's Franklin White is live in Fort Lauderdale with the latest. Franklin?
It was these surveillance cameras that caught the whole thing in broad daylight. And though it's disturbing to see, his family is hoping it leads police to his killers.
When I watched the video, it broke my heart. I started crying.
A day after 46-year-old Gerald Gibson is shot and killed at this gas station off Sunrise Boulevard in Fort Lauderdale, his family is seeing the chilling moments that led to his death.
Just to see him like that in his last moments, get gunned down like he's a dirty dog on the street, and the guys just walk away like they didn't even do nothing.
In the video, you can see the crystal clear image of 3 men exiting this black SUV, one with his gun drawn and 2 men with what's believed to be guns tucked in their pants. They then head towards the front of the gas station where Gibson is seen standing with a white tank top. The men appear to exchange words until one hits Gibson over the head with a gun and knocks him to the ground and then fires that fatal shot.
Whatever he did or whatever happened, it wasn't worth his life.
His cousin, doing her best to watch his last moments, says he was a family man working towards getting his life back on track.
He have kids, he have a family, he have people that love him too.
He was 47 years old, still wore his baseball cap on sideways, was turning his life around. Well, I don't know what, they didn't kind of get around to telling us what his life was like before that. I'm sure lots of people loved him. I'm sure he had lots of children and a big family. But I'm just not sure what he was doing out there, hanging around with people and exchanging words with people who carry guns and go around clonking people on the head and shoot people. Yes, does it sound like I'm blaming the victim? I probably am. But I haven't really thought about this, but here's my question. Does blaming the victim, does that make the black kids angry?